everything so you can upload that so I can look at it. So let's take a look. We have time for maybe one or two trig equations. Any suggestion which one you would like to work on?
Can I go over B?
B. Okay, so let's start B. So we have 2 cosine squared minus cosine x minus 1 equals 0. Perfect. Okay, so obviously I see this function, this equation is has only one trig function, which is cosine. I have to try to factor it. Is there any way we can factor this? Because we want to use the zero product principle.
Can't you factor out cosine x?
No, not from 3 terms. Nope.
Oh, yeah.
We cannot do that. Anyone remembers how to factor this?
We can do 2 cosine x plus 1 and then x minus 1 on the other one.
So let's try. 2 cosine squared, that's correct. Minus 2 plus 1 is indeed correct. 1 times negative 1 is indeed correct. Great job. Thank you very much. Who said so?
Oh, sorry, that's Josh.
Thank you very much. Okay, so what are the two possibilities? The first factor to be 0, 2 cosine x plus 1 could be 0, or cosine x minus 1 to be 0. From here, we move 1 and divide by 2. What is the option for cosine? And what is the option for cosine here?
Cosine x equals negative 1/2.
Great job.
Positive 1.
Positive 1. Thank you, Jordan. Okay, now this is what we are interested in. This is the trig equation, and this other second trig equation that we need to worry about. Okay, so let's start with cosine x equals 1 because that's the easiest. So let's look at the unit circle. Okay. And here is an angle, central angle. Here it is. I'm going to call it alpha. I'm going to create a right triangle. I know that the hypotenuse is 1 because it's a unit circle. I'm going to take that out of there so we can see it here. So this is 1, this is alpha. What is this piece and what is this piece? What do we measure on the x-axis and what do we measure on the y-axis?
Cosine and sine?
Yes, which one is on the x-axis and which one is on the y-axis?
Cosine is on the x.
Correct, because this is the adjacent. For adjacent is cosine alpha. For the opposite will be sine alpha. So this is another very important concept to remember. Here on the x-axis, we measure cosine. Here on the y-axis, we measure sine. So where is cosine 1? Because we measure cosine on this axis, cosine 1 is here. Cosine negative 1 is here. Cosine 0 is here. So 1, 0, negative 1. So cosine x is 1 is at this point where the angle is 0. So I will write that x equals 0 plus 2 pi k for all solutions. And what is k? 0, plus or minus 1, plus or minus 2, etc. Do I have to write the 0? No. So I have x equals 2 pi k with the explanation of what k represents. What does this mean? It means that this is 0, and if I add 2 pi, I'm still here. If I subtract 2 pi, I'm still here. If I go twice with k equals 2, I'm still here with 2 pi, and then twice this way, I'm still at 2 pi. So all these are infinitely many solutions. Now the other one, cosine x equals -1/2. I know I'm down to what, 1 minute or 2 minutes? Okay. So back to the unit circle. Since cosine is measured on the x-axis and cosine is a negative number, which quadrants will have cosine negative?
2 and 3.
Thank you very much. So therefore, I have to find two angles. One with the terminal side in the second and one with the terminal side in the third. But how much is this -1/2? If this is -1, -1/2 is right in the middle. I will draw an imaginary line to determine these 2 points. And this is one angle. And let me use a different color. Oops. And this is the other angle. So then we will have 2 different solutions. Do I still have time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you got like 4 minutes.
4 minutes. Okay, well, for some reason my clock here says something else. And my computer needs to be adjusted, believe it or not. So I can't trust the computer clock. Okay, perfect. So now we have to determine the reference angle. This is the reference angle. Reference angle. Because of that, I highly recommend this little chart. So this is the angle, this is sine, this is cosine, and there are 3 important angles: pi over 6, pi over 4, and pi over 3. Again, this is to remember. Very easy. Here's how you remember it. The smallest angle has sine 1/2, and that number jumps here. Cosine, the smallest angle, cosine is the square root of 3/2, and it jumps here, the opposite. This is also the easiest, always the easiest, because the numbers are the same. Always remember this. If you remember this 1/2, then you know it's here. And then the second one is the square root of 3/2, which changes position, the opposite. 1/2, 1/2, the square root of 3/3/2, and these two are the same. So knowing that, and knowing that cosine has something to do with 1/2, cosine with 1/2 is pi over 3. So then I know that the reference angle is pi over 3. So this is pi. How do I know this angle? Pi minus pi over 3 and pi plus pi over 3. So finally, cosine x equals -1/2 has 2 options. X to be pi minus pi over 3 plus the same thing, 2 pi k. And the second one is pi plus pi over 3 plus 2 pi k. And of course, I have to perform these operations. Remember 3 minus 1. So x equals 2 pi over 3 plus 2 pi k, and 3 plus 1, x equals 4 pi over 3 plus 2 pi k. Of course, I have to explain k 0 plus or minus 1 plus or minus 2 and so on. So this equation has 1, 2, 3 different solutions, infinitely each.